Hey guys, it's Tiffany from SuperEasyMath.com. Today, I'm going to show you how to work with box and whisker plots. Box and whisker plot. What is a box and whisker plot? Box and whisker plot is a special graph which is used to show the distribution of a data collection. It shows the distribution using 5 key points. Those points are the minimum, the first quartile, the median, the third quartile, and the maximum. Sometimes the median is called the second quartile. Things you should know when creating a box plot are: if you know how to calculate the median, drawing the box and whisker plot is not going to be that difficult. There's a separate video that I've done explaining how to calculate the median. So if you haven't watched that video, you might want to go check it out. The first quartile is the median of the first half of the data set. And the third quartile is the median of the second half of the data set. The steps you want to follow when creating a box and whisker plot include: first, order the given data set from the smallest value to the largest value. After that, calculate the median, the first quartile, and the third quartile. Next, draw a number line that fits the given data set. Then draw a box above the number line using quartile 1 and quartile 3 as endpoints for the box. Next, draw a vertical line through the median. Finally, draw a whisker from quartile 1 to the minimum and from quartile 3 to the maximum. Let's take a look at example number 1. The directions say make a box and whisker plot for the data given below. The data that I have is 11, 24, 12, 22, 9, 25, 17, 20, 18, and 15, 21. The first thing I'm going to do is order this data from least to greatest. So I'm going to look at my data set, and I can see just by looking at it, the smallest number I have is 9. So I'm going to cross it off and I'm going to write a 9. Then I'm going to check again, and when I look quickly, I can tell that my next number is 11. Now my next smallest number is 12. My next smallest number looks like it's this 15. And my next smallest number looks like it's this 17. The next I see is 18. And then 20. 21 is next. 22 is next. 24 is next. And 25 is next. The next thing I'm going to do is calculate my median. So if you remember, to calculate the median, you put all your numbers in order from least to greatest. We already did that part. And then we find the middle number. Okay. So if I know that I have 11 numbers in my data set and my median is going to be my middle number, I'm going to take 1 off of 11, and that lets me know there are going to be 5 on the left and 5 on the right. So that gives me sort of a baseline to help me make sure I get the center number. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm actually going to just underline those. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then I'm going to underline these. And that means my median is 18. Okay. Next, I'm going to calculate my first quartile and my third quartile. We basically follow the same steps, but we only use first half of the data set. Sometimes this could be referred to as the lower quartile. So we're going to calculate the median here, and I can see that the middle number is going to be the 12. So this is my first quartile. So I'm actually going to write a Q1. I'm going to write an M above the 18 because that was my median. And then I'm going to calculate the median for this portion, which can also be referred to as the upper quartile. And I can see that the median here is going to be 22, and I'll label this Q3. Now, sometimes your median is referred to as Q2, and so I'll just put that below, but more often it's referred to as median. But if you do see something that says quartile 2 or the second quartile, they're talking about the regular median of the overall data set, okay? Now, my last 2 points would be my minimum and my maximum. And I'm just going to give those a little star because they are important. They do get a special place on our box and whisker plot, but I'm not going to circle them just to clarify that they're not part of the center. Okay. So now I've drawn this line because I need to create a number line using the numbers in our data set. So I'm going to look at my smallest number, and it's 9, and my largest number, and it's 25, to give myself an idea of how big this number line is going to be. So down here, I'm going to put 9, and then I'm going to say 10. So now I filled in my number line, and I made my number line go from 9 to 26. Okay, so first I'm going to graph the box portion of my box and whiskers plot. Okay, so the box portion comes from Q1 all the way to Q3. Okay, so I'm going to mark my Q1 part, and that's going to be at the 12. So this is a little line because that's going to be the left end of my box. And then my Q3 needs to be at 22. So I'm going to draw a line here, and that's going to be the right end of my box. Now I'm going to connect them and basically make a long skinny rectangle. Okay, now I need to draw a line in the center of the box for my median. And where do I put that line? At whatever number my median is, or the Q2. And that's at 18. So my line's going to be here. So please note, the line isn't necessarily going to be in the center of the box. Okay, now I need to draw my whiskers. And to draw my whiskers, I'm going to start from the edge of my box and draw a line all the way out until my minimum number. And my minimum number is the very smallest number of the data set. So in this case, the minimum number is the 9. So I'm going to draw from the box out to the 9. Okay, and I kind of like to put a dot at the end just to make that point clear. I'm going to do the same thing on the right. Start at the edge of my box, or the third quartile, and I'm going to draw my line out to my maximum point, and the maximum point is 25. So for my 9, I didn't label it with words, but it is my minimum, and my 25 is my maximum. Okay, so every part of this box and whisker plot comes directly from some portion of this data set. Okay, so the end portion of my box and whisker plot over here, the 9, that comes because the very smallest number in the data set is a 9. That's my minimum. Okay, the first quartile comes from my lower or smaller half of my data set's median, which was 12. It creates the first quartile. My line that's in the middle of the box comes from my median, which is the median of the overall data set, the whole data set. It's the first thing we calculate. It's the first thing we find of the data set. Then my quartile 3 comes from the larger half of the data set's median, and it gets this line. Okay, so that's at 22. Then we have the maximum point, which is 25, and so that's where this last point comes in place. Okay, so every single part of the box and whisker plot directly comes from what you figured out, the medians and endpoints and beginning points of your data set. Let's move on to example number 2. Example number 2. Make a box and whisker plot for the data given below. I have the number 5, 15, 9, 2, 7, 11, 3, and 12. First thing we do is order these numbers from least to greatest. So I have 2, so I'm going to cross that off. The next smallest number is 3. Cross it off. 5. Cross it off. Next smallest number is 7. Cross it off. 9. Cross it off. 11. 12. And 15. Now I like to count, make sure I didn't miss anything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Now I'm going to calculate my median. Well, when I'm looking at it and I know that I have 8 numbers in this data set, median is going to be a little more complicated because we have 2 numbers in the center of our data set. Okay. We have 3 numbers on the right and we have 3 numbers on the left. That means in order to calculate my median, I actually have to take the mean or the average of my 2 center numbers. So in order to take the mean, what I need to do is add up these 2 numbers. So 9 plus 7 is 16. And then you divide it by 2. And the reason I divide it by 2 is because there are 2 numbers here. So 16 divided by 2 would be 8. So the median for this data set is 8. Okay. So now I need to calculate the median of these 4 numbers. And that means it's going to come from the 3 and the 5. And so that means this median is going to be 4. And then this median is going to come from the 11 and 12. So this median is going to be a little more complicated because these numbers added and divided by 2 make 11.5. So that's not a nice simple number. It's not a nice whole number, but it's okay. It's not terrible. Now I'm going to use these numbers to graph on my number line. Okay. I need to make sure my number line goes from 2 to 15 at least. It can go smaller than 2 and it can go larger than 15, but it needs to at least cover that. So I'm going to draw a line and I'm going to start down here at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay. Now I'm going to graph my box, and my box comes from the median of my lower half of the data right here. So this is the Q1, and that's 4. And the far end of my box comes from the other median, which is going to be quartile 3. Okay, 11.5. So that means in between these 2. Okay. Now I'm going to connect these 2 lines to make a thin rectangle. Now I'm going to draw a line for my median, and the median is going to be whatever my median was when I calculated this. So median, or my Q2, is here. Now I'm going to draw my whiskers. Well, I have a minimum of 2 and I have a maximum of 15. So my whisker comes out to here and my whisker comes out to here. Okay, so now let me double check everything I have and make sure everything looks right. My minimum is 2. Yep. My Q1, or my lower quartile or first quartile, all of those things are interchangeable. You'll hear them called different things depending on like what book or worksheet or whatever you're using. They're all the same. 4. Yep. My Q2 or median is 8. Yep. My Q3 is 11.5. Yep. And my maximum is 15. Perfect. All right. Now let's take a look at example number 3. Example number 3. Trevor recorded the weights of the numbers of his college's swim team. They are 146, 122, 157, 129, 126, 145, 138, 141, 135, 129, and 132. Draw a box and whisker plot using the collected data. All right, so I'm going to first order these numbers from least to greatest, and it looks like 122 is the smallest for my data set. So I got 122. Next smallest is 126. My next smallest is 129. And I have another 129. Next smallest is 132. My next smallest is 135. My next smallest is 138. Keep looking. Looks like I got a 141. Keep looking. Looks like I have 145. Keep looking, and I have a 146. And keep looking. We have 157. All right, it looks like we got everything. When I count, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 numbers. That is correct. I have 11 numbers in my data set as well, so it looks like we're doing all right. Okay, so because I have 11 numbers in my data set, I know that I'm gonna have 5 numbers in the beginning of my set, a middle number, and then 5 numbers at the end for a total of 11 numbers. So let me make sure I look at my first 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This should be my median, but I'm gonna check anyway by taking 5 in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. Okay, here we are. All right. Now I'm gonna calculate the median of the lower half of the data set. And the middle number here is 129. Now I'm going to calculate the median for the upper half of the data set. And here it's 145. You're probably noticing by now that calculating the median is a whole lot easier this time compared to the last example we did. And that's because this data set has an odd number in it. Okay, we have 11 pieces in our data. Our last data set had an even number. So what happened was in the middle, we had 2 digits. So we had to calculate the mean. Because this one's odd, we have a single number in the center. So it's just easy to calculate the median. We just circle it. Now I'm going to use this information to graph what we have on a number line. So I'm going to make sure my number line has 122 and it goes all the way up to 157. That's kind of a larger range, so I'm going to skip count. I'm going to start at 120. Then I'm going to go to 130. I'm going to go to 140. 150. And 160. Okay. Now, I'm going to mark my box. I'm going to start with the 129. So that means it's going to be a little bit on the left of the 130 mark. And then I'm going to do the 145, okay? So we have that notch exactly. Then I'm going to create a thin rectangle with this. Now I'm going to mark my median, 135. Okay, we got a mark for that. Now I'm going to draw my whiskers. I need to take this side out to 122. 122 should be around like here. So I'm going to take this out to that place. Next, I'm going to do my whisker on this side. I need to take this out to 157. So this is 155. 157 should be around here. Okay. There are 2 things that I want to note really quick while I'm on this. Sometimes you will be asked for something called the interquartile range. Okay. Interquartile range means the range of your box. So your Q1 to your Q3, this area, that would be your interquartile range. If you remember, range means subtract your largest number and your smallest number, okay? So if somebody were to ask, what's the interquartile range of this data set? I would say, well, my Q3 value is 145, so I'm going to say 145, and my Q1 value is 129, so that's minus 129, and my answer would be my interquartile range, okay? So the interquartile range for this particular data set would be 16. And sometimes interquartile range is abbreviated or written as just IQR, interquartile range, okay? So the interquartile range is the range of the box. If somebody asks what's the range of this data set, meaning all of the numbers, that would just be a simple range of subtracting the smallest and largest numbers from each other, okay? Let's move on to example number 4. Example number 4 says the final grade out of 100 earned by 10 students in a college class are as follows. 78, 49, 55, 82, 57, 59, 72, 70, 63, and 64. Represent this data in a Box-and-Whisker plot. Okay, well, the first thing I'm going to do is order it from least to greatest. And it looks like my smallest number is 49. My next smallest number is 55. My next smallest number is 57. Then 59, 63, 64, 70, 72, 78, 82. Now, I'm going to calculate the median of the data set. Well, first of all, I like to see, how many numbers do I have in a data set to begin with? I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 numbers, okay? So because this is an even one, it's going to be a little more complicated to calculate the median because I'm going to have like 2 numbers left over in the middle. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the center, okay? What is the median between these two? Well, it's going to be the halfway place between these 2 numbers, and that means it's going to be 63.5. That could be calculated manually by adding these 2 numbers together and then dividing by 2. You divide by 2 because there are 2 numbers. Remember, that's a mean. Now, I need to include the 64 in the larger half of my data set. I need to include the 63 in the lower half of my data set and then calculate the median from there. Well, this is an odd number, so calculating this median is going to be pretty easy. In fact, maybe calculating isn't even the right word. It's just finding the median because you just go to that center place, and that would be 72. We got 5 numbers and 72 is in the middle. Now over here, we have these 5 numbers and 57 is in the center. So right now I have my first quartile, I have my median, and I have the third quartile. I have also a minimum and my maximum. Now I'm going to draw my number line, and it needs to have 49 at the lower end and 82 at the upper end, at least. Okay, so I got 49 and 50 is going to be my main. So now I'm going to draw my box for my Box-and-Whisker plot, and I have 57. So my 57 is going to be around here. And I have 72. My 72 is around here. Now I'm going to draw my median. My median is 63.5. 63.5 would be around here. Next, I'm going to draw my whiskers. I need to start from here and go out to 49. My other whisker needs to go to 82. All right. So I have taken this data and I've turned it into a Box-and-Whisker plot. Now let's take a recap. First, you're going to order the given data set from the smallest value to the largest value. After that, calculate the median, the first quartile, and the third quartile. Next, you're going to draw a number line that fits the given data set. Then draw a box above the number line using quartile 1 and quartile 3 as endpoints for the box. Next, draw a vertical line through the median. Finally, draw a whisker from quartile 1 to the minimum and from quartile 3 to the maximum. Now you try. What's the third quartile of the data set represented in the box plot below? You can head over to my website, supereasymath.com, and click on video answers to see if your answer is correct. supereasymath.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Did you find this video helpful?
Well, you can get more help from me on my website, supereasymath.com. While you're there, you can pick up my top 5 math tips to make learning math easy.